Hi, 5th grade. This is Ms. Kachabata. So this is the video for week 6, day 1. And before we get started, I just want to go over the page before the work starts, which is the vocabulary review. So these are just some vocabulary words that you are going to see throughout the week 6 packet. So the first few, length, width, and height. Length is how long something is. Width is how wide it is, and the height is how tall something is. Okay, next we have 2D and 3D. So 2D is 2 dimensions, which means it's flat, and they give you a picture there. And then 3 dimensions is solid. Okay, so like the first picture is like a flat picture of a dice, and then of some dice, and then the next one is a die that or cube that is 3D, so it's a solid. All right, next we have area, and we know that that is the amount of space inside a 2D shape. Next we have perimeter, which is the distance or length around the edge of the shape. We have surface area, so this is if we took a 3D shape like a cube and we unfolded it, the total area of the surface, which is the outside part, that's the surface area, okay? And then we have volume, and we know that that's the amount of space an object takes up. All right, so these are just the vocabulary math terms that you are going to see throughout the packet. All right, so week 6, day 1. Our objective today, I can measure to find the area of rectangles with fractional side lengths. Okay, so we did this before school closed. And we used the area model to help us. So that's what we'll be doing today. So our fluency says multiply the fractions and simplify your answers where necessary. All right, so here we go. 1/2 times 1/4. Remember, you just multiply straight across. So 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 4 is 8. So our answer is 1/8. Okay, going across, we have 1/2 times 3/4. So again, multiplying straight across, 1 times 3 is 3, and 2 times 4 is 8. There's nothing that divides into both 3 and 8, so I know that this fraction is simplified. Okay, then I have 3/4 times 2/3. Again, 3 times 2 is going to give me 6, and 4 times 3 is 12. All right, I want to ask myself, is there anything that goes, what's the largest number that goes into both 6 and 12 evenly? So I know that I'm going to divide by 6 here, okay, to simplify this fraction. And when I simplify it, I'm going to get 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 12 divided by 6 is 2. So my final simplified fraction is going to be 1/2. Okay. And then I have 3/4 times 5, 6. So 3 times 5 is 15. 4 times 6 is 24. So again, I want you to think, what is the biggest number that goes into 15 and 24? So I am going to say that is 3. All right, and then 15 divided by 3 is going to give us 5, and 24 divided by 3 is going to give us 8. So our final answer is 5/8. So these are the 4 products that you should have gotten for this part of the daily fluency. All right, moving on down, find the volume, be sure to include the units. Okay, so we will just say that we're using cubic centimeters. So remember, the volume is the length times the width times the height. Okay, so let's start with this first one. I want you to first find the dimensions, the length, the width, and the height. So go ahead and do that. I know that the length is how long the shape is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is going to be my length. We'll say 5 centimeters. Okay. The width is how far back it goes, how wide it is. So that's 1, 2 centimeters. And the height is going to be how tall it is. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4 centimeters. Okay. Now we're going to plug those dimensions into the formula. So that's going to give us volume equals 5 centimeters times 2 centimeters times 4 centimeters. 5 times 2 is going to give us 10 square centimeters times 4 centimeters. And then 10 times 4 is going to give us 40 cubic centimeters for our volume. Okay, go ahead and see if you can do the next one on your own. Pause the video. All right. So again, we have the length, the width, and the height. All right, so the length here, you should have gotten 7 centimeters. The width, you should have gotten 3 centimeters. And the height, how tall is it, is 2 centimeters. Okay, go ahead and plug that in to the formula. All right, and now we just multiply. So 7 centimeters times 3 centimeters gives me 21 square centimeters times 2 centimeters. All right, if you don't know what 21 times 2 is off the top of your head, that's fine. Just go over to the side and you should get 42. So the volume is going to be 42 cubic centimeters. All right, when you are ready, we are going to go ahead and go to the next page. Okay, so I'm just going to go over the new learning quickly, and then I'd rather dive into solving the problems together. So this is when you were multiplying mixed numbers, basically finding the area, and the side lengths are mixed numbers. Okay, so for this one, they actually just did, they did 2 times 2 1/4, so a whole number times a mixed number. And as you can see, they set up the area model the same way you would if this were 21 times 2, okay? And then they just multiplied. And then they added their partial products together. So it's the same steps that we use for the area model. All that's different is that we're using fractions this time. Okay, again, same thing. At the top, they have the area model. They're multiplying 2 mixed numbers together. And then at the bottom, this is a word problem. Zakira is putting carpet in her house. She wants to carpet her living room, which measures 12 feet by 10.5 feet. She also wants to carpet her bedroom, which is 10 feet by 7.5 feet. How many square feet of carpet will she need to cover both rooms? So here they had to find the area of the living room first, and they said that was 126 feet of carpet. Then they found the area of the bedroom next. That was 70 square feet of carpet. And then they added those two together to figure out the total amount, square footage of carpet they were going to need to cover both rooms. And it was 201 square feet. So again, all we're doing today is multiplying mixed numbers or whole numbers and mixed numbers. And we're doing that using the area model. Okay, so here we go. Under the let's try. Find the area of the rectangle, use the area model to do so. All right, so they've already set it up for you here. So again, we're just going to multiply straight across. As you remember in an area model, all the numbers on the top come straight down and fill in each box. And all the numbers on the side go straight across and fill in each box. So in this first box up top, we're going to multiply 2 inches times 2 inches. And that's going to give me 4. And then down here, I'm going to have 2 times 1/2. Okay, I know that I set this up as 2 times 1 over 2. That gives me 2 over 2, which is the same as 1 whole. All right, so then they said down here, they already filled it in for you where they added it together. 4 square inches plus 1 square inch is going to give you a total of 5 square inches. Okay. Now, on the next one, you have to fill some of it in. So again, we're just going to go through and figure out our partial products. All these numbers on the top come straight down. So I'll have 1 times the number, 1 times the number. Then I'll have 3/4 times the number, 3/4 times the number. All these numbers on the side are going to fill in straight across. So I'll have 1 and 1. And then I'll have 3/4 and 3/4. Okay? So 1 times 1 is 1. That's my first partial product. 3/4 times 1. If I just think, okay, 3 times 1 over 4, that's still going to give me 3/4. Now I have 1 times 3/4, so again, that's going to give me 3/4. And then I have 3/4 times 3/4. So 3 times 3 is 9, and 4 times 4 is 16. Okay? So they added these up all together. So we have 1 plus 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 9/16. Okay, so now we need to do that. All right, so I'm going to say, I'm running out of room here. 1 plus 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 9/16. Okay. So I can have the 1. Now I know that I can add 3/4 and 3/4. That's going to give me 6/4. Okay, and then I have 9/16. So I know that I'm going to have to make these two have the same denominator. So I'm going to say, okay, if I have 6/4 and I want to turn it into what's the least common multiple between 4 and 16, I know that I'm going to get 16. So I have 6/4 and I have 9/16. So I'm going to create 2 new fractions with the denominator of 16. 4 times what gives me 16? 4 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24. And then, of course, this is going to stay the same. So if I add these up, that's going to give me 33/16. And now I have to add this 1 to it. So remember, 33/16 is a fraction greater than 1. So I'm going to say, okay, 16 goes into 33. I'm not positive, so I'm just going to test it out. It goes in twice. And then 32, I'm going to have 1/16 left over. So now I have 2 and 1/16 plus 1 whole, and that's going to give me 3 and 1/16. I know that was a lot, and I know it was all over the place, but your answer should be 3 and 1/16 square inches. Okay? So it does get tricky. However, you do know how to do every step we just did. It's just it just feels like a lot of steps, right? You know how to do the area model. You know how to add fractions with unlike denominators. And you know how to add mixed numbers and whole numbers. Okay? So again, you're going to find the area of the following shapes. The work is on the next page. The rest of the work that goes with each of these area models. So we'll start with the first one. All right, so here you're going to multiply 2 times 2, and that's going to give you 4. Then you're going to multiply here, again, 2 times 3/4. All right, go ahead and set that up so that you can multiply. You should be writing 2 times 3 over 4. Then you just multiply. 2 times 3 is 6/4. And 6/4 is the same as, think, 4 goes into 6 how many times? It goes in once. And then you have 2/4 left over. So now we're going to add 4 plus 1 2/4. Okay, so you're going to want to flip to the next page that looks like this. I went ahead and took pictures of the work that I did on the other page and just put it onto my screen here so that we could still see it. So we're still going to add the 4 plus the 1 2/4 here, and that's going to give us 5 2/4. And I know that 2/4 is the same as 1/2, so my final answer is going to be an area of 5 1/2 square inches. Okay, and if you want, you can write it down at the bottom, but it's kind of hard to write in this tiny little space. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next one. Again, if you need to flip back to the other page to go to where the area model is, that's totally fine. I can't really flip back and forth between my pages on my iPad, so I just went ahead and moved it here. But again, we're going to do the same thing. So remember, all these numbers at the top go straight down, and all the numbers on the side go straight across. So in this first box, I want you to think, okay, what am I going to be multiplying? I'm going to be multiplying these two numbers right here. So I'm going to have 2 times 3. And 2 times 3 gives us 6. All right. They did not give you lots of room to do it inside this area model over here, but now we have 1/4 times 3. So remember, you're going to set that up as 1 times 3 over 4, and that just gives you 3/4. Okay, go ahead and do the bottom two. Again, right here, you're going to multiply 2 times 1/4. And when you do that, you're multiplying the whole number by the numerator. So you have 2 times 1 over 4, which gives you 2/4, which we know is the same as 1/2. And then over here, we're multiplying 1/4 times 1/4, which will give us 1/8. Okay, we're going to add up all these partial products now. So we have 6 plus 3/4 plus 1/2 plus 1/8. Okay. So I want to think, okay, I need to combine some of these. I could just make them all have the same denominator. So you could actually do this a couple different ways. So looking at these fractions, we have a 4, a 2, and an 8 as a denominator. So if you were to come up here and you were to skip count, right? 4, 8, 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 8, 16, 24. All right, the least common multiple that they have in common is going to give you 8. That's the least common multiple. So I'm going to create 3 new fractions. Okay, with a denominator of 8. And now you're just going to use multiplication to find equivalent fractions. So we're going to say 4 times what gives us 8? 4 times 2, and 3 times 2 is 6. So 3/4 and 6/8 are equivalent. 2 times what gives you 8? 2 times 4, and 1 times 4 is 4. And then, of course, this will stay the same because it already has the denominator of 8. So if I add these up together, I'm going to get 11/8. And I know 11/8 is a fraction greater than 1 because my numerator is greater than my denominator. So I'm going to put this into a mixed number by asking myself, how many times does 8 go into 11? It goes into it once. And then I have 8 times 1 is 8. So I have 3 left over. And 8 is my denominator. So finally, I'm going to add this whole number over here because I cannot forget this whole number. So I'm going to say 6 plus 1 3/8 is going to give me an answer of 7 3/8 square inches. Okay. All right, moving down, to our last problem. It says Hanley is putting carpet in her house. She wants to carpet her living room, which measures 15 feet by 12 1/3 feet. She also wants to carpet her dining room, which is 10 1/4 feet by 10 1/3 feet. How many square feet of carpet will she need to cover both rooms? All right. So we're going to start with the living room. Okay. So I'm going to put LR. And I'm going to draw my area model here. Okay. And we have 15 times 12 1/3. So I'm going to break apart 12 1/3 as 12 plus 1/3. And then I'm going to put 15 on this side. All right. So here I have 12 times 15 first. I don't know what that is off the top of my head. So I'm going to come up here and say 12 times 15. 5 times 2 is going to give me 10. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. I'm moving to the tens place to multiply, so I'm going to put a 0 in the ones place and record in the tens place. 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 times 1 is 1. 0 plus 0 is 0. 6 plus 2, 8. And 1 plus 0 is 1. So this is going to give me 180. Okay. Now right here, I'm going to multiply 15 times 1/3. I know that that's going to give me 15 times 1, which is 15. And then my denominator is 3. And then I'm going to simplify this fraction greater than 1 by asking myself, how many times does 3 go into 15? 3 goes into 15 5 times. So 180 plus 5 gives us 185 square feet for the living room. Okay? So we have the living room. Now we need to do the dining room. So I'm going to put DR. And again, I'm going to make an area model. Make this one a little bigger because now we're multiplying two mixed numbers. Okay. So I'm going to break these up. So I'm going to start with 10 1/4. So I'll say 10 plus 1/4. And then I have 10 1/3. So I'm going to say 10 plus 1/3. And now I'm going to multiply. Here I'm going to multiply 10 times 10, which gives me 100. Next, I'm going to multiply 10 times 1/4. Okay. 10 times 1 is 10 over 4. So this is going to give me 2. 4 goes into 10 2 times. That's 8. And so, whoops, I'm sorry. So we're going to have 2 and 2/4, which we know is the same as 2 1/2. All right. Next, we have 10 times 1/3, which is going to give us 10/3. Okay. And again, we're going to simplify that. So 3 goes into 10 3 times. Then you have 1/3 left over. All right, that's our third partial product. Next, I'm going to multiply 1/3 times 1/4. And that's going to give me 1/12. All right, so we have a lot of partial products here. So we're going to say, all right, 100 plus 2 2/4 plus 3 1/3 plus 1/12. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and add up all of my whole numbers here. So I'm going to say 100 plus 2 plus 3. So that's going to give me 105. So now I have 105 plus 2/4 plus 1/3 plus 1/12. And now I'm going to create, find the least common multiple so I can create a new denominator. So if I think of the first number that 4, 3, and 12 have in common when I skip count, go ahead and take a second to figure that out. And then unpause the video when you're ready, and you should have gotten that 12 is going to be your least common denominator here. Or your least common multiple, rather. All right, we can't forget about that 105. Now we're going to find the new numerators. So again, using that multiplication, 4 times what gives you 12? 4 times 3. And 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times what gives you 12? 3 times 4. And 1 times 4 is 4. And then, of course, 1/12 will stay the same because it already has a denominator of 12. So now we have 105 plus, and if I add all these together, 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 1 more is 11. So 105 plus 11/12 is going to give you 105 and 11/12 square feet. Okay. Now, we need to know the total amount of carpet she's going to need for both rooms. So I'm going to say, what's 100? I need another color. What's 105 and 11/12 plus 185? All right. I'm going to come up here so I can do 185 plus 105. 5 plus 5 is 10. 8 plus 0 is 8, plus 1 is 9, and 1 plus 1 is 2. So this is going to give me a final answer of 290 and 11/12 square feet as your final answer. All right. So again, that was a very long problem, and we had to go step by step, but ultimately we were able to figure it out. All right, please reach out if you have any questions. If you need the anchor chart, I am going to put that on here. You can also find it in Microsoft Teams under the Files tab. Okay, so I went ahead and imported that picture. So here's the area model, the anchor chart that was hanging in class. Again, this is on Microsoft Teams under Files in the anchor chart folder. All right. But you can also screenshot it and keep it next to you in case you're doing any of this on Zern or Prodigy, or you need to look at it when you are solving the rest of the packet for this week. All right, so again, reach out if you need any questions, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.